Um, hey folks, so welcome to our second round with Michelle here. She's been amazing enough and awesome enough to do this for us because I think everyone, seemed to resonate with what you said, Michelle, and want to learn more. And of course, you want to teach more about this. And it's a big piece of the puzzle for a lot of people here, whether it's food intolerance or as we're finding out, an autoimmune issue, or it can present in all sorts of different ways. And that's what I guess we wanted to talk about today, which I'll get to, just to cover the housekeeping, everyone. So, Michelle, we are happy to unmute people who want to ask a question, is it? Or
yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. So if you guys want to ask Michelle something specific or have a question, you can either type it in the chat box. Well, first of all, can you please type yes if you can hear and see us both? I probably should do that in the beginning. So let me know in chat. And then if you have a question as we're talking, or you want to ask something in particular, say I have a question in the chat box, or raise your hand. You know the usual protocol I do with all of you guys. Or you can, if you're shy or you're, I don't know, in the loudest place and you can't unmute yourself, you can type your question in the chat box and we can at least try to look at it that way.
Yeah. So is it possible that if anyone wants to ask a question that we can see the video if they're keen?
Yes, if we have some brave souls here, we do. There's a lot of people here who
I love faces, guys. So if you, I'm super excited to see you and chat to you. So if you're brave and keen, then yeah, please let us know. Otherwise, don't let that stop you asking questions. I'm still happy to answer anyway.
Yeah, and remember, like, this video is totally, like, I'm not posting it anywhere outside the group. So it's safe in that way, as usual. Thanks everyone who wrote yes, they can hear us. So let's start with the topic and talk about that a little bit. So the topic that people voted on was how your external environment reflects your internal one. Internal one referring to gut symptoms in this context, I suppose.
In this context, yep, absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, yeah, so I don't know, take it away. I don't even know where to start with that, but you had some pointers there, so I'll stop talking. I'm going to let you decide where to go with this.
Thanks, Joe. So the thing is that often we don't notice the correlation between what's going on in our life, what the circumstances are that we choose to be in or find ourselves in, and how that might affect us internally. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. And it sounds like with all the feedback that it resonated, that there's some questions, there's more information to hear about this, that people are thinking, hang on a minute, this sounds like something that might be happening for me. So if we look at external environments, everything's kind of internal anyway, in the sense that you're the one who's making the decisions, you're the one who's choosing to be in particular situations, you're the one that's engaging, right? But for the purpose of this, let's talk about what external environment might mean. It may be the house that you live in, so the physical building. It may be who you're living with, the people that you're living with, helping you to thrive, or are there some really unhealthy relationships there? And that daily communication and relating is an environment that's really impacting you negatively. What I see a lot of is people's work and their career that might be misaligned to what they actually need. What I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. Working with a girl at the moment who is a publicist. So really, really busy role, one that requires you to be ahead of everything all the time, you know, on Twitter, on email, on text, on phone, like it's go, go, go. And she's discovered that her role is actually making her unwell, that it's actually not aligned to how she likes to work, you know, that go, go. She's anxious all the time because she has to be hypervigilant and not missing anything. So her work and her career, she's realizing, are not conducive to a healthy environment for her gut. So you might find that for yourself. It could be that you love your job, but maybe the environment that you're in isn't quite right for you. It could be that, you know, the team dynamic is really unhealthy, and maybe you'd be better off moving to another place, you know, to another company or to another department or something. It may be that you're working 60 hours a week and your body's telling you, hey, you just can't do this. It's not healthy for you. You know, or it may be that from the minute that you step into the office, or even on the way to the office, or even before you get to the office, you start working, right? You're checking your emails at 7 a.m. It may be that the pace is just go, 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 and you can't keep up for that pace. And there's an expectation out there in society that we're failing or something if we can't keep up with that pace. But actually, the only person you're failing, if that's the case for you, is yourself. Because some people can keep up with that pace because it's aligned to them and they're okay to do that. Other people can't. And it's about that kind of inner knowledge, you know, well, what is it that's right for me, and am I doing what's aligned for me?
Mm-hmm. So from a personal point of view, like, it's super ironic given like the program I have and the job I do, etc. But like, I get IBS symptoms from stress.
Yes.
From the work that I do, I have been able, because I can very much be on top of the food and I can kind of rule that out or be strategic with it. And I do know that my symptoms are largely actually caused by the stress. So that means that, yeah, food is still a trigger, but it affects my hypersensitivity. So when I'm really stressed out, my mind's on a lot. Maybe I don't sleep well, or what I find is as soon as I wake up in the morning, my stomach is gonna get like going straight away and making noises and unsettled. And I believe that's definitely anxiety related. Does anyone else experience this? And it doesn't have to be work. It could be relationship or your home environment. I find is a big one with clients I speak with. It's like a big stressor. So I would love to see, like, give me a yes, you guys, if anyone else experiences that kind of thing in the morning. And then, as you said last week as well, if you're on vacation or a holiday or something, if you observe that your symptoms kind of go away, well then, hey, you need to be looking at not just your FODMAPs and the food, but you need to be looking at what we're talking about here, because it's a big piece of the puzzle. And yeah, it's just something that I observed.
A lot of people saying yes, definitely. Yeah.
It's I don't know. The work you're doing, like, you're onto something very important here. I mean, I know you know that, but I just want to reiterate it. So yeah, I mean, I know I interrupted you, but like, what the heck do we do about it? Or like, how do we identify? Is that how we identify it? Like, because people are, we're just like, oh yeah, just follow the FODMAP diet or whatever. And of course it helps because food is a trigger as well, but it's multiplied almost by, for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a lot of people, I'd say in the majority, what's going on in your head.
The hypersensitivity that you talked about in your diet is so important, and I love the fact that as a dietitian that you are aware of that and discuss it, and let your clients know about it, in the sense that you can do everything that you possibly can with diet, but if you have stress hormones pumping through your body, there's only so much that diet can do. we have to address those stress hormones, because those stress hormones will make everything hypersensitive. And so it starts attacking. It says, okay, I can't tell the difference, but I've got to keep you well somehow. And immune system starts like working in overload, and then it starts essentially attacking things and it doesn't need to attack, and you end up sensitive. And so that is a really big part. So we're not excluding one or the other, but we're saying that they're really important to look at together. And yeah, you asked, what do we do about it? Absolutely, I can share some information about that. I'm just wondering if anyone that's on the chat, has any particular questions first.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ask something or share their story, whoever's brave to go first. As soon as you go first, everyone else will. Marnie says yes, and Marnie's always good for camera as well. So let's bring her up. Marnie.
Hi. I just got back from a cruise, and the timing of this is great because I'm doing self-quarantine.
Okay.
Not because of the cruise, but because I was on a cruise with like 2,000 nerds, so we were all hyper vigilant about washing our hands and sanitizing and everything. It was going through the airport and getting back to where I live, and I just tried ordering some groceries, and everything is out of stock that would be potentially good for my body. And so I'm trying to understand what I can do, not just from a food perspective, but from dealing with the stress that this COVID-19 is producing within everyone in the general community.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Thank you for asking. I'm so sure that all the other people listening are having the same concerns as you, and it is a really big thing that's happening across the world, and I can see that it's creating a lot of fear in people, a lot of panic, and that's where those behaviours are coming, where they're overbuying and stockpiling goods, etc., when maybe it's not really that necessary. So I'm wondering, for you though, do you have any fear yourself, or is it just that, well, what am I going to do if there's no food for me?
At this point, I'm very concerned, like the only vegetables that I think I have in the house are from Chinese food that I had delivered last night.
Yeah.
I tried ordering clementine oranges and some Italian chicken sausage, and both of those were refunded to me. So it's like, I don't know what I can even obtain at this point that would help me get back into a normal eating rhythm.
Yeah. Look, it sounds to me, nutrition-wise, that's probably a really good question for Joe, just because he can advise you better. He knows you, and he can advise you better, and that's his training as well on how do we maintain good nutrition when the foods that we eat for our health and well-being aren't available to us, and potentially might be less available to us over time. Yeah.
Normally I see my therapist every other week, but he's gone this week, so it's going to be another few weeks before I see him. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I not let the stress and anxiety start to build and overwhelm me as the days go by?
Yeah. And it is, isn't it? Because there's a lot of it's unknown, essentially. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are stressed and panicked, because we can't foresee what's happening. Obviously, our governments across the world are doing what they can, to help us out and protect us and look after us. But there's all these other actions and repercussions happening around us that we probably didn't foresee. They're closing things down. They're closing shops down. They're asking us to stay at home. Deliveries aren't available much anymore. I know that that's happening a lot in Australia, and it sounds like it's happening over there too. I would say your very best and the most critical point here would be to try and stay in the now, where you are now, because it's very hard for you to project on something that no one else can project on, you know, that we don't know where the virus is going to be and how it's going to happen and whether
Right.
it's, you know, we're going to end up with it, which, you know, it's highly possible we will. And I just want to make a point on that as well, that as far as I understand from the reading that I've done, that the coronavirus is, although there, you know, it's caused a lot of respiratory problems in people, and especially the older people and the people who have lost their lives. Generally, overall though, the virus itself isn't as bad as other influenza viruses. You know, there's a lot of people carrying it with not many symptoms. So it's important to try and get some perspective for ourselves on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But just staying in the now. All you can do is get your food and your resources that are available now. You can't do anything aside from that. You can't, you know, try and organize yourself for in a month's time or 3 months' time. You can only, you know, have what's available now. And there are some recommendations in relation to what do we do pre-pandemic conditions. You know, do we, if you don't have fresh drinking water at your house, then they recommend, you know, storing some drinking water and some staples and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, and there's sensible things we can do for ourselves, but otherwise, it seems like everybody's in the same boat and we can't really do much except for just manage what we have right here, right now. Because if we try and look bigger, it gets overwhelming, really
Right.
overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, I know that I get significantly affected by isolation, and
Yeah.
since I live alone, I don't have any pets. How do I deal with it? Because I can only be on Facebook for so long each day, you know, before I go insane. And
Yeah.
so I don't know what I can do to help alleviate my isolation at this point.
Yeah. It's a big change in our lives, isn't it? One that we've not been presented with before. And again, I think that there's a lot of anxiety and panic about how's this going to affect me and how will I cope and how long will it be for? I think one of the fears is that we don't have an end point. We don't really know, how long. Like sometimes if we know, okay, we only have to do this for a month, then we're okay. But for you, you're self-isolating at the moment, coming off the cruise. I guess having contact with other people via video links, via phone calls, is there opportunities for you to do that?
There's some, but not a lot. I've always had a very small social circle, and there have been times that I've actually gone to like grocery stores just to be near people.
Yeah, okay. So this is really affecting you, you know, the fact that you are isolated from others. Very much. This is where you get a lot of your interactions, you know, by being out in your community and knowing the people around you and seeing their faces and sharing smiles and having eye contact.
Right.
So, yeah, so it is painful. It's difficult to not receive that. And again, the best we can do for this moment now is to find ways that you can have some form of that in your life. So if you've got friends on Facebook that you talk to, maybe you can arrange for some of those to have some, you know, video link calls, like using Skype or FaceTime or something like that. And maybe having more contact with people than you normally would have to see if that can help alleviate, you know, some loneliness or some disconnection that you might be experiencing.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. You're very welcome. How much longer have you got?
I literally just got back home on Saturday morning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or actually, I take that back, Sunday morning. So I'm pretty much at the start of the 2-week period.
So a week and a half. Yeah, you're right. A bit over a week and a half to go. Yeah, you can do it. I mean, you're already thinking about what can I do, and noticing for yourself that it's difficult for you. So I think that if you can put in some of those strategies, then you'll find it's a bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
know that
much.
there's an end in sight.
Sure doesn't feel like it right now.
Yeah. Great to talk to you, Marnie. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Money. So you guys, if anyone like feels they get symptoms from stress, or they're exacerbated by stress or anxiety or something like that, and you have a question for Michelle, like, now is the time to ask, because you're gonna get specialist help on this call.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? So, like, we're talking about external environment,
Mm-hmm.
and how it can present as these gut symptoms. And external environment can be like what we've listed here. Relationships is a big one. Your work career we spoke about, and that's more just about the stress. We work and work and work, and I don't know, we just to save money or for whatever it is, and that doesn't align with our goals or values, or
Needs too.
needs. And so that can cause symptoms. And then there's financial stress, of course, family stress. Everyone's got a bit of that.
So much. Yeah.
And then you put here, ask yourself these questions, because this might help prompt some people listening to the question. So it's like, should we go over them? So there's like, how are you living? Is your life aligned to your needs and values? It's a big one. Do you feel supported and safe? I don't even know where you're going with that, but I would like to hear. Are you thriving or just surviving? Are you thriving or just surviving? That's a big one, I think, for a lot of us. Are you slowing down enough to tune into yourself? Perhaps this kind of time where we are in this kind of quarantine, for a lot of people, whether forced or not, but maybe it is a time that you can slow down and tune into yourself. Would you agree or not?
I totally agree. I reckon that's a really clever suggestion and spin that you put on it there. I really like that. Well done. And you know what? I probably should have put that question at the beginning, like, are you slowing down enough to tune into yourself? Because often there is a disconnection. If we are stressed, especially long term, we're living these lives that just aren't kind of suiting us, or we're getting sick, or we're just run down all the time. There is usually a correlation there that's, you're not having enough time in your life for reflection, to question yourself and to contemplate, what am I doing here? And is this right for me? And do I want to keep doing this? And, what would I prefer to be doing, etc. So it's about self-awareness, coming into yourself, just like what Marnie was doing, having the awareness that I'm quarantined at the moment, and I've lost connection with people that I see in my everyday life, and that's going to be difficult for me. I'm worried about that. That's great self-awareness. And so the next piece of that is doing exactly what we did, is to ask, well, what can I put in place to help me with that? So if we're looking at life, we're looking at those questions. How are you living? How are you living? Are you not working? Are you working 2 jobs and it's keeping you run down? Why do you spend your time the way you spend it? Is it that you have financial commitments? Are you looking after somebody else? Are you trying to pay off a mortgage? Knowing these things about yourself. And where's the wiggle room? What can I, if my pace of life is too much, what do I need to look at? Am I spending 6 hours of my night playing online games, for example? And maybe I could be using that time for something that's more self-reflective, or that's helping me thrive. That question, am I thriving or am I just surviving? Because your body will tell you. Your body is telling you now, if you have symptoms, then you're just surviving, essentially, and we want you feeling better than that. And just like you, Joe, you know, you can have periods where you have gut symptoms, where you realize, whoa, that stress got really high for a while. And you might acknowledge that. You might say, well, I know I'm about to go into a period that is going to be high stress, that I'm juggling all these things at once. And so when symptoms come on board, you know what it is and you don't worry too much about it. You go, well, this is going to be over soon. You know, I'll be back to doing this next week or next month or whatever. But it's when that's never over and it's when that just keeps going and going and going, and the body, you know, maintains those symptoms because essentially something gives way. You know, your body, in my view, because remember, this is my slice of the pie, guys. So I talk about the psychology and emotions and behaviors that are impacting physical ailments, or that are a contributing factor to physical ailments, or that are exacerbating physical ailments. And so the way I see it is your body's giving you this tap on the shoulder. It's saying, hey, I need your attention. You need to slow down because you've missed the cues that came before the symptoms. You've missed the stress. You know, you've missed those. And so the body eventually, you know, pushes you and says, I'm going to slow you down. You have no choice.
Okay. Is it the same for like high blood pressure or?
All the same. Yeah. Just a different, it's just that person's individual body and how it expresses that stress.
Right.
Migraines, blood pressure, heart disease, autoimmune disease, peripheral neuropathy, you know, so many different things.
Mm-hmm. Is it fair to describe it as like low-grade inflammation? Like that's the kind of term we use, the medical community uses, to kind of try to describe probably what you're articulating better. Because it's like, well, why do all these things occur? Low-grade inflammation, or in other words, your stress is like just in that fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Constantly.
Yeah, so I reckon low-grade inflammation is right, and it's probably more, it's really relevant to your line of work, I think, when when you're talking about like gut inflammation and hormones and chemicals that are pumping throughout the body. And I would add on to that, for my slice, is the fight or flight. That's probably the bigger piece here. So when you are stressed, you have activated your sympathetic nervous system, so you're in your fight or flight response. And that's part of your nervous system. So you have a nervous system that is on high alert, it's hypervigilant, it's really sensitive to everything. And then, you know, like we have a ceiling, and this is our ceiling for what we can tolerate. And, you know, we want to be down here so that as we go through our days and our weeks and our months, that there's events and stressors that kind of push us up here, but we still have this much buffer, right? But when your nervous system is all wound up, you're up here. You are so close to your ceiling. And so it doesn't take much. It's the small things, and you hit your ceiling really quickly. And so not only are you experiencing, you know, gut symptoms, you're feeling unwell, you've got no energy, but now because you're hitting your ceiling, you're probably reacting and behaving in ways that you're not so proud of, you know, so then you feel worse about yourself because you're just irritated and, you know, you don't have a lot of kind of tolerance all the time. So don't be hard on yourself if that's happening for you. That's just how it is. It's one of the things. So yeah, nervous system response is what really happens when we're talking about stress and anxiety, and those essentially life misalignments.
Right. And I mean, and I don't want to get into it again, but to recap, if anyone wants to explore that more, we kind of talked about this in the first call a bit, like
Exactly.
why does a human body do that? It seems like very counterproductive and quite frankly annoying, but it comes from the, you know, tens of thousands of years ago where it was actually useful to have this fight or flight response. And now we're not in actual dangerous situations, but perceived
we are,
dangerous or uncomfortable. And lo and behold, this is how the body reacts. So the difference with these situations is they don't go away, right? If I have financial worry, It's not
Yeah.
like the the lion in the bush. That's a
Yeah.
temporary thing. It's
Yeah.
there all the time, and
Yeah.
and that's why I'm certainly have been experiencing, which is hard for me to admit, because like it's like what I teach is how to resolve these things, but it does affect us all, and there's several pieces of the puzzle. Anyway, so I've got Gian has a question.
Yeah.
So Gian, I'm gonna unmute you now, buddy, and Gian is a fellow Aussie.
Ah,
Hi.
If we can get her on.
hello. Hi.
Hi.
Good. Oh, we got a video too.
Do you? No.
Yeah, almost. Have you got
No.
your video on or off?
I have
That's
it
off.
off.
Oh,
Do you
I
I
don't
mean,
want
turn
it
it
on
on,
my
be
Gemma?
page.
less. No? Okay. That's okay.
So-
So my question was,
Yeah.
looking at all these gut sort of symptoms, like Joe was saying, when he gets up in the morning, sometimes those things happen.
Yeah.
What are some things that you can do? Like, I get sort of keeping your cup sort of at that level so that it doesn't spew out and you kind of release it every so often. But how do you then fix those symptoms if it's people that triggers it, or situations that you kind of have to be around? Like,
Yeah.
Like children.
well,
No, I'm just
children
kidding.
can handle. I can absolutely deal with children. It's, I guess, like family, things like that. People where, because I'm a people pleaser,
Mhm.
I'm learning slowly that it's okay. I can't please everybody, but that's a long sort of process and journey that will, I think, forever be a learning thing for myself.
Yeah.
But just, like sometimes certain people, like even now, waiting to get on this call, it sounds like I feel like I'm out of breath, like I've gone for a run.
Okay.
My hands are sweaty. I ramble, my heart sort of gets fluttery, and like I'm okay because I know I'm in a safe environment and everyone's so lovely, but this same response happens with other people sometimes, and then it might make my stomach, like I'll have to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Which,
Overactive.
yeah, but it doesn't happen, I guess, a whole lot, but just having that constant feeling of adrenaline. And
Yeah, you're right. You know what? You're precisely right. So it is adrenaline. So you're in a fight or flight response. So you're
sometimes
stressed.
I freeze too.
Yeah, you possibly do. Yep. So when our sympathetic nervous system is activated and we go into one of those three responses, there is adrenaline, norepinephrine, cortisol. It's all pumped out into our bodies so quickly, and that's what's causing you to have sweaty palms and racing heart, and to be feeling probably really jittery on the inside. Yeah, that's exactly. So your body's responding to something that it thinks is a threat, essentially. And your question at the beginning was, well, how do we calm that down? How do I stop that from happening?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the answer is, there's a few ways. Obviously, you can't avoid those situations. And of course, avoidance behavior is actually an anxiety behavior anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not effective for you to do that. The other, I guess the starting point is self-awareness, so that it's like we live our lives so quick. It's like this, if you guys can see that. It's just moment to moment, so quick like this. And there's no gaps in between those moments. What we want to do is be slowing down our lives enough, or those moments enough, that there's gaps, right? So we can see from this moment to this moment to this moment. And in these gaps here, that's where we can reflect. That's where we can notice those feelings that are arising. So as soon as, you're getting the sweaty palms, you're going, oh, okay, this is what's happening here. And actually, even before you get the sweaty palms, what will happen is that you'll be able to say, I'm going into this environment, or I'm here with these people, and this is how I feel about that situation.
Mhm.
This is how I've responded to that situation before, and maybe this is how I'm going to respond to this situation now. But that's really about a lot of, there's a few components. You know, one is that self-awareness, and then that self-awareness, then you're going to be able to explore exactly what's happening so that you can unpack it, so that you can come to a point where you can respond differently, because ultimately it's your internal response to an external situation that's affecting you.
I've been able to identify certain people or situations, and I don't know what it is, but if I'm fearful of something because of, like, you know, anxiety or whatever about it, I will not force myself to do it, but it's almost like I'm like, no. I don't want to do that, but I will. Like,
Yeah.
I talk a lot in front. I work at a school, so I have to kind of talk and address big groups, other, you know, adults, not just children. And I'm okay with that and things like that. But then I still get the sweatiness and that sort of stuff. But I kind of just gone, well, I know that that's how I feel, but the message that I'm trying to convey is more important than the feeling I'm feeling. And I've been able to sort of go, when that feeling starts, because sometimes it will happen and nothing's happening.
Okay.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, that's starting to do that. And then I sort of have been able to work it through and go, okay, so that's just a feeling, it'll pass. And then it does quite fast. It's only ever happened once, like about 7 years ago, where it just, I didn't know what it was and I thought I was having a heart attack and I literally passed out.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a hospital, so that was pretty lucky. But I was in a children's hospital actually with my daughter, and so it was quite funny very much afterwards, because they had to put me on a bed that was like, I'm like 5'9", so I'm not like a tiny person, and I was like dangling over a child's bed. But I was in the right place when it happened. But because I've seen like a psychologist after that, so I've been able to kind of work out the triggers and things like that, and sort of stop it going as far as that's ever happened. But I just think, like, the responses, like, it's the same response. Like, let's say I'm getting ready to go out and meet friends, or like, I get quite excited doing these calls, and I get like the, you know, the little butterflies in your tummy and, you know, things like that. But it's the same feeling as if when I'm anxious. And it's, I guess, like, you know, I've sort of been able to know in my head which is what, but I guess I'm wanting to know, like, how do you, I don't know, I don't know if prevent is the right word, but how do you stop maybe yourself having to, like, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, yeah.
Having that response to everything. It's like I get excited by everything, which, and then I get like a really high pitch voice, and I'm like, and then the more distress I'm in, the more rambling, the more high pitch, the more, yay, everything's great happens. So I guess, just trying to stop that snowball.
So again, you've described something perfectly, you know, that you feel the excitement, and it's all the same fluttery feelings in the stomach, etc. And I might have mentioned this in the last call, I don't remember, but between excitement and fear, so just say that there's two people about to go bungee jumping, one beside themselves with fear and doesn't want to do it, and they're sick to their stomach and sweating and their heart's going and they can't breathe. And then there's another person standing there as well, and they are really excited and they can't wait to jump. Actually, both those people have the same physiological processes happening in their body, but is the perception that's put onto it. So
how do you enjoy the feeling then?
How do you wish?
How do you enjoy that feeling then? Because
how do you enjoy it?
The other person is enjoying that feeling, that adrenaline, like.
Yeah. it's possible that, it's possible that if your nervous system is used to being hyperactivated, then it's possible that that's why you're feeling such heightened feelings of excitement, and that they are having effects on your gut and other parts of your autonomic nervous system. And so maybe it's over the long term, bringing down those levels of your nervous system, so regulating your nervous system over time, which means that the peaks of your excitement won't be as high in your physical body. So you'll still experience the joy and excitement, but you won't get that overactivation.
So is that just practicing, really?
Yeah, it is. It is practicing, and there's probably a bit more exploring to do. You have great self-awareness already, and you've been really effective in your self-talk and being able to process your way through, a circumstance. But
so is it okay to you are absolutely right. I'm very self-aware, and I've slowly started to kind of call it my superpowers, where I'm really hypervigilant. I can see, read people's behavior before things happen, and I know I can get out of there before things go, and for myself as well. So I've slowly learnt to sort of embrace it a little. So are you saying it's okay to have those things, or?
Yeah, it's okay, but if it's affecting your physical body in a way that's interfering or unmanageable for you, then no.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it's a slowing down. So it's kind of I would say it's a hypersensitivity of your nervous system, and your nervous system is used to being in that state. And so it trips really quickly, and it can trip to fear, or it can trip to excitement really quickly.
Yeah.
So overall, it would be a long-term goal of regulating that nervous system right down, and more exploring, so really unpacking with somebody each of those circumstances and what's going on. Because it sounds to me, what I'm hearing is there's a little bit more awareness to bring about it.
Yeah. So something I can take away, would that be to just kind of practice those relaxation moments in between those times?
Yep, exactly. So as much as you can. So the idea when we do relaxation, whether it's yoga or meditation, or, we take ourselves out walking, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's got their own way of relaxing, right? But we need to find a way that is deeply relaxing to us, not just, like, I love going for a walk. That's relaxing to me, but it is not the same as meditation. So meditation really, brings those levels right down, like all the way down.
Yeah.
And so when we do, say, half an hour or an hour on the meditation cushion, we feel fantastic. If we haven't learnt how to apply that in our life, like how to bring the cushion with us, then our relaxation cuts off as soon as we stand up from the cushion.
Okay.
So it's about bringing the awareness of that meditation into your daily life, and checking in with yourself over the course of the day, as many moments as you can, to say, what's my current state right now? Where's my nervous system at? What level am I functioning? Am I all speedy like this? And therefore I need to bring myself back down. And you might need to do that, 64 times a day. But eventually you only need to do that a couple of times a day. That's the idea.
I usually do a check-in before sort of bed and in the mornings, but it has gotten better, like obviously much better. But that's definitely something that I can do.
That's it. So Gian, thank you so much for asking that. And I think everybody else can relate that to themselves in some way. We generally, as a society, we live in a heightened state all the time. Our physiology and our biology hasn't caught up to the evolution that has happened in society.
And I think because I work with children too, and I grew up with the play school era with Noni Hazelhurst, and it's just that, hi everybody, and that's my go-to, because I you know, I love what I do with kids and things like that. So it's just a natural, that's my go-to, which I'm comfortable with, because I would rather that than, you know, grumpy, sad person. I know that's my go-to, but I know it also then can heighten how I
So the
am.
question is it your natural go-to, or is it, you know, like what it'd be worth knowing, and you can figure this out, I suppose, in
Yeah.
time to come,
Yeah.
what your natural state is. So when you're not on show, or when you're not having to, you know, do something for somebody else, or present or whatever.
Yes.
So like, what is my natural state? And therefore, am I out of alignment with whatever that natural state is?
Oh, I think you just hit it on the, yeah, I think you just, yes, that's the first time I've ever, that is something I shall work on. Perfect.
Yeah, because if you're out of alignment with it, then it goes back to a comment that you made before, which is it is such hard work.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard work when we behave and present ourselves in the world differently to who we are innately underneath. And so if you can bring it into alignment like this, then you'll be good. It won't be hard work anymore.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Alignment. Kristen says it's alignment.
Yeah, totally. And Chelsea's got a question now. I want to get to that, but first, I just wanted to say, like as you guys talking, I'm just like, oh, this is a good one. Oh, that's a good one. But then, like, I'm conscious of the time as well. I just wanted to say, like, when you talked about something that, not like walking, where it's like, oh yeah, that relieves my stress, but something that, did you say deep?
Deep relaxation.
Deep relaxation. And then you sort of said, like, you know, there's meditation, or like mindfulness meditation, or I guess even what you do, like gut-directed imagery, right? I suppose.
Yeah.
So these are things like, it's not like airy fairy, like these are evidence-based things. You can measure certain markers of what is deep relaxation. So one thing is, like, we measure cortisol, which is a hormone that responds to stress. When you have high stress, acute stress even, cortisol goes up. So we can observe, like, physiological changes happening in your brain and your hormones from practicing these processes. For example, gut-directed imagery, mindfulness meditation. So these are genuine things that help. They do not help one-off. It's like if you came and spoke to me for half an hour, you're not going to get anywhere. You do need to practice. Or it's like going to the gym and lifting a weight. You have to do the repetitions to get the result.
Yeah, exactly. And they're really rewarding. Again, it's like going to the gym. You can't build those muscles any other way than to use them, fatigue them, tear them, you know, get them to re-repair themselves. That's the only way you can do it. There's no tricks, there's no shortcuts. You can't do that. And it's the same with deep relaxation, like the meditation that we're talking about, the kind that they've done the studies on, that there is nothing else that can give you that. Yeah, you can feel relaxed if you plonk yourself down in front of Netflix and watch a few episodes of your favorite show, but it doesn't reach your nervous system on a deep level like a meditation or yoga might do, or a guided imagery. Yeah.
I mean, this is just me nerding out, and we don't need to stick on this topic, but, like, are we talking about rewiring the neural pathways?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot, I mean, this goes way beyond my studies, I guess, but, you know, we have, like, our frontal cortex, we have all these areas in the other parts of our brain, we have the primal part of our brain back here. And if you want to go back to, you know, things like stress and trauma, if we've had stress from when we were young in our lives, then our brain's been wired a particular way. And often some of those wirings are short-circuited. And so the messages aren't even getting through the right way. But even when we're just, if we're healthy beings, but we've had years of stress or illness in our lives, you know, then our brain is still more heightened. You know, our kind of cognitive part of our brain is on the go all the time. And it's activating, you know, the emotional center of our brain and the fear center of our brain all the time. So when we meditate, what we're doing is bringing our attention in, so we stop getting pulled off with all those thoughts that we're in all day, every day, right? So we come and we bring our attention here over and over and over. And whenever we do that, whenever we don't allow ourselves to get pulled off down onto that track, but we instead stay here, we are stopping those kind of neural pathways that are always happening in our brain. We're slowing them down. And so they're not sparking all the time. And then we start to build other neural pathways that help us stay more present, that help us stay more relaxed. So that is a long-term thing that happens from meditation. It's an actual physiological change in our brain.
Yeah.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, okay, neuroplasticity, and takes repetitions, just so you guys know. And if you're like me and you've tried mindfulness stuff, you downloaded Headspace or whatever it is, and 5 seconds in, you caught yourself thinking about dinner or something. Like, that's okay. That has to be part of the process. I say this with the food intolerance clients. I say it with the weight loss clients. Like, if you go off track or whatever, like, that was part of the process. This had to happen for us to take the next steps forward, like kind of like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. So if you tried mindfulness meditation, for example, and you're like, oh, it's too hard, well, you have to stop being a baby and continue with it, because it's going to get easy. You have to practice with that. I know that people give up straight away, and you've got to give it a chance.
Can I add something there? The reason why people give up straight away is because the instruction has not been offered. So it can feel like you're failing, you're losing your mind. Because what happens is, when you slow down, the meditation is actually about awareness. The objective is not to slow down the mind, but instead to be aware of what's going on in the mind. And to be aware of that, we need to notice what's happening, and then to keep bringing the mind back to a point of focus, like the breath, right? It's only when we're focusing here that we can notice if the mind takes us over there. Otherwise, we don't notice, because we were over there anyway, and then we're over there, and then we're over there, right? So it's only, we go, oh, okay, we've got to come back here. And we come back here like 1,650 times in a half an hour session. So often. And it is upsetting. It can be really upsetting. It can be overwhelming emotionally. Yeah, frustrating, all of those things, if we don't know the true objectives of meditation, right? Because then we're sitting there, we're trying to do the wrong thing. So if you want to embark on some meditation and you have an app, make sure it's one that's got some instruction in it, or go to a course, or do an online one or something, but someone that can give you some instruction about what do you do when the mind comes back. I've got a podcast that talks, so there's 2 in a row. I think it's number 17 and 18. One talks about the objective of meditation, so I'll talk about it for 20 minutes. You can go on there and really listen to all the information. Then the next one is an actual facilitated meditation practice. So it's like having a teacher with you. So I guide you in how to do that. And so it just gives you a different experience of how to meditate. One that's more achievable. Yeah, one that's more gentle on you too, because it is hard. Meditation is really hard, but keep persisting because it's so rewarding.
And it sounds like a fundamental thing to try and practice if you do indeed experience the kind of, if what we're saying here resonates with you, it's going to help. And one thing I just want to add quickly for what Gian said, she's very courageous because she's feeling all these things, the anxiety, and yet she was still brave enough to come on and talk. And I love that. So kudos to you, Gian. But one thing that I spoke with my friend who's a hypnotherapist as well, she does a lot about subconscious mind. I guess it's a separate type, I'm not sure. But I was telling her, like, I get a lot of anxiety with, I'm a very anxious person actually, but with performing like public speaking, for example, is super stupid because I'm online all the time. But online is different because I'm behind the screen here. I'm protected, I'm safe. But in front of crowds, like super scary. But she said, one tip she said to me, was like, first of all, you need to just pause and take a breath and say to yourself and realize, I'm choosing to be here to do this, what I'm about to do. And it's so right, because I am choosing to, for example, Gian, you're choosing to attend this call. You're choosing to submit the question. You're choosing to get like, so I thought, and it really did help me come to terms with that. Obviously it's not a full solution, but like just empowering myself takes away a bit of fear.
Yep, exactly. And then knowing, I always talk about the unpacking. It's knowing precisely what the fear is, and down to the point where, there's no corner left unturned that we haven't unpacked. Because once you know that, then the fear kind of starts to dissolve on its own, and because you can respond differently to it.
But even if we know the fear is illogical, which it always is, it still doesn't then go away, because humans are not logical creatures, right?
Do you know what? But who's it illogical to? Because it's always logical to you. Well, it's logical to you, otherwise you wouldn't be fearful.
It's illogical to me to feel anxious about public speaking, because it's not in any way harmful, and probably will be beneficial for whatever the purpose is, helping whoever I'm speaking to. So that feels illogical for me to feel that way, but I feel that way.
Yeah.
Or it feels illogical for me to stress out in the morning with work when I know in the grand scheme things will be fine. Whatever I'm worrying about, like it's not a big deal in the end. But it's like, well, why am I stressing out about it?
Because you're human. Because you're human, and you're not just a cognitive mind, you're an emotional being underneath. And so there's lots of complexities there. So talking your way out of it, trying to be logical and talk your way out of it, isn't actually addressing the fears, which are emotional, that are underneath. That's why.
Yeah. Okay, good. So then, and the way we do that kind of ties into Chelsea's question. I'm trying to link it up here. How do you know if you, what's a way to find a therapist? How do you know if you should? I think is a good question.
So is there two parts to that question?
Yeah. So she said, like, any suggestions for the best way to find a therapist? Okay. Which kind of therapist, Chelsea? I guess she, I'm not sure what she's referring to. And then, or how to know if you should need a therapist or this kind of help.
Yeah, great questions, Chelsea. Thank you. Therapists, obviously I'm a therapist, and I'm going to advocate for therapy because I think it's fantastic. Knowing more about yourself, it never goes wrong, really. It's always beneficial in the sense that it helps you understand who you are, so that you can unpack what's happening for you, whether there's hurdles that you have, whether there's difficulties, whether you need to just talk to somebody about what's happening for you, whether you want to change some behavior. There's so many different reasons that people might seek out a therapist. At the end of the day, if something's not working for you and you don't know how to change it, that's good enough. I would say that's a simple answer. How do I know if I need a therapist? If something's not working, find an expert to help you. That's why Joe and I are here. We spend 10,000 hours on these subjects so that we can help out the best we can. So find somebody that can help you. And on that, it's about you interviewing that person, that practitioner that you choose to go to. Make sure that you always stay empowered in yourself, that you interview them about what they can give you, whether they're going to be the right person for you. Never give all your power over to them. That's really important. I see a lot of that, too much of it, and then you start to lose yourself. And that's not what the objective of therapy is. It's to always stay centered in you, and you want to work with somebody who empowers you and builds up what's already in you, what your strengths are. So that would be my answer. Chelsea, Thank you for asking.
And, just to clarify for everyone, it's for what you're doing, gut-directed imagery is useful for both like bloating, or diarrhea or constipation, right? So those kind of symptoms, so those kind of symptoms the way it presents in your body may be different, but if we go back to the external stresses that are coming in, they're usually always kind of a pattern, right? Or more or less the same for people, but it's just how the body shows symptoms is going to be variable.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Like I've got a new client, a woman who she's booked in with me for herself, and then her daughter is booked in with me who has gut symptoms. But the mother gets headaches and migraines. In our very first session, she just broke down in tears when I said to her, what I can see is a woman who has an incredible amount of pressure on her shoulders every day. She has 3 children, and that was it for her. She just broke down in tears. She's trying to hold her life together and her kids' lives together, and she's not giving herself what she needs. She's not holding herself together, so her body's giving way. She's getting all these headaches and migraines all the time, and so that's just a way that her body expresses it. But, her daughter expresses it through the gut, just like you guys might experience that too. You get the bloating or the change in bowel function or the wind or the reflux as well. That's just an upper gastrointestinal tightness, the reflux, as long as there's not sugar and, too much excess processed foods involved. If you're on a healthy diet and you're still getting reflux, then often that is an upper level of stress that's holding tight in your esophagus. Yeah.
Okay. I assume therapists who specialize in gut issues are hard to come by.
Yeah.
How many?
We are few and far between.
But the good thing is we're online, and actually, it's really interesting. Just a quick side note. So Zoom, the bandwidth of Zoom is being really slow and difficult lately because all of a sudden everyone is working from home. Health care has to be provided virtually because there's not enough doctors in different parts, so they need to do it this way. This is the future of not only education but healthcare as we're doing, because it's more convenient and it's better, it's superior. So Chelsea, you're gonna, a gut therapist where you are in your town there probably is not one, but online, such as Michelle, like they are there. And to learn more about you, Michelle, like, so people can the podcast, right? Happy Inside podcast.
Happy Inside. Yep.
And there's an app if you've got iPhone. Then there's also the app. So what's the purpose of the app again? Like, it's kind of just an introduction, or
so the app. So I developed the app, to make practices more accessible worldwide. Now it is an iPhone app only, so sorry for everybody who has Android. I haven't had that made yet. It's just really expensive, that's all. It's not that I don't care about you. It's just
you hate Android.
Just affects the bank account. The app is called Happy Inside. And so the app is basically a good deal of my work. So 3 main kind of areas of my work, which is about regulating the nervous system. So there's practices in there for both constipation predominant symptoms, diarrhea predominant symptoms, and general physical pain. Then there's some practices about befriending your body. So I kind of talked about this before, but coming into your body for self-awareness. So it's a practice that I walk you through. And then there's quiet the mind, and that's the slowing down. So if you guys want some meditations, some guided imageries, there's lots of different practices in there that you can use. And Joe mentioned the podcast. So everything's called Happy Inside. So podcast is Happy Inside, and you can find that everywhere that has podcasts. And the website's happyinside.com.au for Australia. And you can find all that information on the website too.
So explore that, guys. And by the way, like, Michelle doesn't even want me to bring up that kind of stuff, like, Michelle has an app, and because it's me. I want you to go and explore this kind of stuff, and and learn a bit more about it. And then, you know, in the future, if you do need that kind of help, you're obviously going to think of Michelle, and I hope you do, because she's the one who can help us. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm mindful of the time as well. I want to be respectful to you, Michelle, and everyone else. And Michelle, did we cover everything on this topic that you wanted to?
Yeah, I've been so happy with the engagement. It's, you know, Joe said to me before, oh, do you want to do a Facebook Live? And I was, I said, no, I insist on having Zoom where I can see faces. I really like talking, when I know that people are there on the other side. So thank you for coming on to Zoom and participating and asking questions. It's really great. The engagement is what makes it so exciting, and having your own questions is what makes it exciting, because then I can tailor it, and even if it's not your question, but you're hearing the conversation, you're still kind of tailoring that to yourself in a way. You're going, oh my God, that's relevant to me, etc. So that's why this engagement is really beneficial for everyone, I think. And so I'm hoping that we might have another one.
Yeah, if we have another one, you guys, I'm going to switch the settings. So when you join the Zoom call, everyone's cameras turn on, and you have to turn them off if you don't want to.
Yay!
Because I'm actually in some groups that do that. It's better because you'll feel more open to ask something, because at the moment, I get it. At the moment, it's kind of like, oh, it's me and Michelle, and we don't interrupt, and you know what I mean. But actually, it is easier for us as like when we're working with clients to be able to dig a little and see your expression, and then we can ask the right questions and you can get the right answers. But yeah, anyway, of course, this is great. Anyway,
and I think you won't be on the screen alone, right? There'll be other. Is that what happens?
Yeah. So what happens? Yeah. So at the moment, it looks like it's just you, but actually, when I post a recording, everyone's a tile who has their camera on. So you'll just be a tiny little, like the Brady Bunch, it's like,
that's it.
Like,
so it's like a little community. We can all see each other. It's nice.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, cool. I think we'll wrap it up, you guys. And if you have any feedback for me about this call, then let me know. If I can twist her arm, Michelle will do another one maybe, if we can explore another topic. And anyway, we've got some.
Please, let Joe know if there's particular things that you want to talk with me about, to get on a Q&A and have topics, then it's really helpful when you give your feedback and make suggestions. We're both happy to work with that. So please do that too.
Awesome. And just to summarize it all, it's kind of like say you have these issues, and we're basically here saying, so like it's some food related, like what I talk about. And guess what? Some of it is to do with your stress or those kind of components in your mindset. And you probably already knew that, but we want to show you that it's fixable, right? Because I think people are feeling helpless, and you can, I'm sure you see it with all your clients, but like you can get back to normal life, and this doesn't have to be the way your life goes, for the remainder of your life. You can fix this. You're going to have to apply yourself. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of work or repetition, but it's possible. You're not alone. It's possible to fix.
Entirely. Yep. You hit the nail on the head, Joe. Well done.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Michelle. And see everyone. Stay inside and wash your hands.
See you later.
Bye.